Talk about dysfunction.
And she's still on the move.
I had a different boyfriend when we moved into this house.
You understand that that's not particularly good for your children.
Yes, ma'am.
Especially when you have a revolving door of boyfriends in your house. I mean, you do it anyway. That makes you pretty selfish.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Raylene Eppert is suing her daughter, Melissa Ray Bowen, for unpaid utility bills.
Order. All rise. It's case number 10 on the calendar, the matter of Eppert versus Bowen.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Bowen, Miss Eppert is your mother. And you have children. How many?
I have 4.
How old are they?
17, 15, 11, and 5.
Is your current boyfriend the father of any of those children?
No, ma'am.
When did you ask your mother to put a utility bill in your name?
I never asked her. It was an agreement between her and my grandmother.
Did you move in with your grandmother?
Yes, I did.
When?
I believe May of 2016, 17.
Did she have a house?
She didn't know. We moved into a house together. She was living with my
Your
mom.
grandmother moved into a place at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Your grandmother had been living with your mother.
Yes.
For how long?
For years. I don't know exactly how long.
And in 2016, you had a 3-year-old, a 9-year-old. And did you have the same boyfriend or no boyfriend?
I had a different boyfriend when we moved into this house.
You understand that that's not particularly good for your children.
Mm-hmm.
You do understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I mean, you do it anyway. That makes you pretty selfish.
I don't think I'm selfish.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. If you have 4 children, none of whom are fathered by your current boyfriend. 2 years ago, you had a different boyfriend who was also not the father of your children. That's pretty selfish. That goes like this with your kids. Okay, so you moved in with your grandmother into a place at the same time. Was there a lease?
Yes.
In whose name was the lease?
It was in both of our names.
Is this your grandmother?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you stand up, please? What's your last name?
Reet.
Now, when you moved into a house with your granddaughter, did you ever have a conversation with your daughter about putting the utility bill in your name?
No, I was told at a later date that's what had happened.
Told by whom?
I was told by my granddaughter and confirmed later by my daughter.
That it was put in your daughter's name?
Yeah.
Were you sharing the utility bill with her? You splitting it down the middle?
No, I paid a portion of the rental agreement, and then I paid for food and other incidentals there.
What was the rent on the house?
When we first moved in, it was about $1,100 or $1,200.
And how much did you pay?
Don't remember, because there were 3 of us, and it was split between myself, Melissa, and her other boyfriend that lived there. I think it was around
Were all of her 4
$500.
children living with her?
Pardon me?
Were all of her children living with her?
They lived there with her, yes.
Were there 4 children in 2016 living with your granddaughter?
Yes.
They were off and on living there. My ex-husband and I have split custody, so 1 week on, 1 week off. They were not there the whole month. Of the 2 older
I didn't ask where
children.
they were the whole month. They slept there. Where did they go to school from?
By their dad's house.
Well, if they went to school from their father's house, that means that they slept at their father's house during the week, unless he lives in the same school district.
I would drive them to school every morning on the weeks that I had them.
Your Honor, her 2 older children, not the 2 younger children. The 2 older children are fathered by one man, and the 2 younger children are fathered by another man.
So the now 15 and 17-year-old would split their time.
Yes.
But not the 2 younger ones.
I helped arrange their child custody, and they had...
Okay, that's all I asked.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just figuring out the financials. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 of you full-time, and 2 of your children full-time, 2 of your children part-time, on the one hand, paying rent, and then your grandmother.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you paid a portion of the rent. How much did you pay?
Around $500.
Not around. I don't want to know around. How much did you give her every month?
Honestly, it was 500 and something, and I can't remember the dollar amount.
How much did your grandmother give you every month towards rent?
$500.
Well, that should cover her portion of the rent and also utilities. You have 6 people. She's 1 person. Okay. Who actually wrote out the check for utilities?
We paid it online.
Who
But it
paid
came out of
online?
my account after she gave me the cash.
Great. Now, which month didn't your daughter pay?
July and August.
Why?
I have my August bill. She turned off the power the day my grandmother moved out the house, but I was paid in full up until she moved out. And then I started the bills on August 1st.
Just a second. Can you show me a statement where there was outstanding utility bill that you were held responsible for?
So my name's on the top, and that's her address. That's just the power. The gas is right here, and it's not as clear as how they broke that one down.
Just a second.
Where she lived.
Did you pay this bill?
Yes, ma'am.
You have proof that you paid this bill?
Yeah, if you flip through, they pull it right out of my payment plan.
I have a
And
bank
it
statement
shows-
proving that she did fraud on my account to attempt to supposedly pay said bills without my knowledge.
Okay. Did she do that?
Huh?
No. Was she successful in trying
No,
to
I
pay?
stopped the payments.
Was she successful in trying to pay it out of your account? The answer is no. You stopped it.
I stopped the payments.
Okay, so you owe her $332.10.
But what about my counterclaim?
$332?
For the false statements?
Just a second. I haven't gotten to your counterclaim yet,
Okay.
which is going to be very interesting. Talk about dysfunction all over the place. All right, so let me see if I understand your counterclaim. So far, you owe your mother $332.10.
Excuse
This
me,
is your
ma'am.
counterclaim.
There's two bills, power and gas. So the other one's $34.18. There's two separate documents you have that are stapled, each separate
Oh,
stapled.
okay. Got it. $366. Now, the counterclaim is slightly more interesting than a utility bill. Forget hacking into your account. You turn that back. Filing a false CPS and child abuse charge. Okay, so let me see if I understand what you're suggesting in that. What you're suggesting is that you didn't want your grandmother living with you anymore because, according to you, the FBI was investigating her.
They were.
So you told her to leave.
Yes.
In retaliation, and told your mother that your current boyfriend was abusing your children. That's what you said.
Yes. And we were
Sure,
clear.
As a result of that, your mother called for a police check, which resulted in a Child Protective Services investigation.
No, she called CPS after we were cleared because the cops wouldn't do anything. And it's right here in the police statement that I have.
Perfectly reasonable. Perfectly reasonable. So let me understand this. Your mother gets a call from her mother, who lives with you, who tells her daughter that your boyfriend, is that you?
Yes.
Was abusing your children. Your mother has several choices. She can ask you, is your boyfriend abusing the children? Which you would respond, absolutely not.
I told her no.
Just a second. That's akin to doing nothing. Or she can call the authorities and say, I want an investigation because I understand from my mother that there may be abuse going on in the house.
No, ma'am. That is not what happened.
Your Honor, I
You just
have a-
said that's what you say what
No.
happened.
She had come down and asked to see the kids at 11:30 at night, and I wouldn't let her see them due to them being asleep. She told me then that if I wouldn't let her see the kids, that she would call the cops to do a welfare check. They showed up about midnight 30, woke up my kids, questioned everybody, pulled us out of the house, and we were cleared, was done.
Let me read to you what you say. Your mother, in her statement, by the way, says, in August of 2018, I received an unsettling call from the house. That, I assume, is the unsettling call from her mother, advising her that something was going on with the boyfriend. I assume this boyfriend, since it's now 2018 and you've moved on. Your answer says, in June, I discovered the FBI was investigating my grandmother. So I wanted her out of the house and away from my children. My grandmother didn't want to leave and told my mother that my boyfriend was abusing my children. That's what you wrote.
Yes, ma'am.
That's when my mother decided to believe her. Put your hand down. And called the police to do a welfare check. That's exactly what I would have done. Exactly what I would have done. That's what I would hope that every person would do if they got such a phone call from their parent, especially when you have a revolving door of boyfriends in your house.
I do not have a revolving door of
Okay.
boyfriends.
You owe your mother $366. Your counterclaim is dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Skiba versus Wolf. Step forward.
Kathleen Skiba is suing her former friend, Crown Victoria.
Mr. Wolf, what kind of work do you do?
I do construction.
Do you work for yourself or for a company?
I work for myself.
Who do you live with?
I live with my son.
And he goes to school?
Yeah.
Now, you used to work as a caretaker for the plaintiff.
Yes.
From what year to what year?
I was not year to year. I worked for Miss Skiba for one job. It was fixing her toilet and installing her furnace.
And you did that when?
Last October.
When did you start to rent her home from her?
October 1st,
Of last year?
2018, yes.
And did you have a written lease with her?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of that lease?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please.
It is a land contract, it's not a lease.
It's a land contract, ma'am, not a lease.
I see it. So what you were doing is you were renting to buy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you both signed this rent to buy, and the contract was made September 4th, 2018.
Yes.
And you were buying the property for $30,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were paying interest at 6% a year.
Mm-hmm.
And the monthly payments were $350.
Yes, ma'am.
All very neatly in here. Agreement. You were paying her rent every month?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
When did he not pay you rent?
He paid 2 months' rent since last year. I received 2 payments that my mother got, and that's it. And then one...
Do you have, just a second, since October, when you moved in,
Yes.
do you have proof that you made payments on the rent?
I do.
I'd like to see them.
Don't have the evidence with me.
Well, that's what I need.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The agreement was that he was going to drive you around, and in exchange for that, you would give him the car.
Nothing was ever given to
Just,
him.
I will determine whether you sold him the car or gave him the car. That's what we're here for.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Kathleen Skiba says her former friend and tenant, Joshua Wolf, stiffed her on the purchase of a car. Joshua's countersuing for stolen tools and false allegations of domestic abuse.
Do you have proof that you made payments on the rent?
I do.
I'd like to see them.
Don't have the evidence with me.
Well, that's what I need.
Okay.
I have that I have already took him to court, the evidence that he hasn't paid it and that he has to pay.
I'd like to see it. When was the last payment that you received?
More payments.
No.
The last payment I got from him was in January
Of what year?
of 19, this year.
I'm not interested in that. Hey,
Okay.
we have October, November, and December. 3 months' rent was before January. Now, did you receive 3 months' rent? October, November, and December.
3 months, correct.
In what month did you advise Mr. Wolf that you had to move back into the house?
I advised him that I was coming back there.
What
It was
day and month?
It was around the end of February. I was really sick from where I was living. I had to get my lungs
Just
flushed.
a second. I'm not asking you for your
Okay.
story.
All right.
In what month did you tell him that you were coming back to the house?
February.
Now, in what month did you come back to the house?
It's the end of February.
February.
Correct.
Now, this is what the case is about. It is your claim that you came back to the house and that when you came back to the house, you sold him an old car.
Yes.
You sold him the car for $1,250. He hasn't paid you for the car. The defendant says you didn't sell him the car. You came back to the house, lived in the house. It was supposed to be only for a week because you weren't well. You were supposed to look for an apartment. The agreement was that he was going to drive you back to the house. And in exchange for that, you would give him the car. That's what you said, and you actually signed the title over to him.
Yeah,
that would be a
handed
yes.
him the title.
That would be a yes.
Yes.
Now, when he rented your house, in what state was the house?
Michigan.
And where did you move to?
I was staying in Livonia, Michigan, and I came there because I was needing a surgery.
No, listen to me.
Ma'am, nothing was ever given to
Just
him.
listen to my questions.
Gotcha.
I will determine whether you sold him the car or gave him the car. That's what we're here for.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So I picked him up, and he came and stayed the night at my house, and we drove back in the morning.
So we actually stayed over.
He stayed over.
Working for you to help you move.
Right, because I'm disability, ma'am.
Listen, that's unfortunate for you, but as far as the law is concerned, that means that I don't care.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Kathleen Skiba says her former friend and tenant, Joshua Wolf, stiffed her on the purchase of a car. Joshua's countersuing for stolen tools and false allegations of domestic abuse.
Now, did the defendant come to your home where you were living to bring you back in the car?
No, I picked him up in my car.
You drove.
I drove in my Camaro.
Just. You drove, you picked him up That's what you started to tell me.
Yes.
What month was that? February?
Yes.
So you drove from where you were in February and picked him up. And then what did you do after you picked him up?
We drove back the next day and
You drove back?
with the car.
Just a second.
And my
Sure.
U-Haul.
You picked him up and drove him to where you were staying. That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Where you had rented a U-Haul.
Yes.
That's a yes or a no?
That would be yes.
And how long did it take, once you picked him up, to drive back? How many hours or miles was
They
it?
stayed the night. We left first thing in the morning, about 6 hours.
So he drove back with you 6 hours to where you were. You stayed at his home.
No, he stayed at my home.
No. He was renting to own the house. So
Well,
you were staying.
I was renting where I was living. So I picked him up, and he came and stayed the night at my house, and we drove back in the morning.
Just a second. So he actually stayed over.
He stayed over
working
my
for you to help you move.
Right, because I'm disability, ma'am.
Listen, that's unfortunate for you, but as far as the law is concerned, that means, and I don't care.
Right.
You picked him up,
Right.
drove him back 6 hours to your house, drove back 6 hours. Both of them slept over at your house, helped you load up the U-Haul from the house, then drove back to the house that he was renting to own that you said you had to stay in for a while, or whatever. Because your lawsuit has to do with $1,250 for a car. All I want you to show me is proof of how much you paid the defendant and his son to move you.
Well,
No.
I don't have anything because they said they would do it for him never giving me any rent, basically, because he never pays me nothing. And he stayed there also.
No, that's just a second.
Since
That's what.
August.
Just a second. That's what you told me. You told me he moved in October and he paid October, November, and December's rent, and you gave him the car in exchange for moving you 12 hours with his son. Not only him, he brought his son to move your stuff.
Because
in
he didn't
exchange
have a
for that, your
license,
case is
ma'am,
dismissed.
and I
We're
never
done.
gave him
We're done with your
nothing.
case.
Would
Listen
you like
to me.
to see the
We're
pictures
done.
of the legal activity going in my house? That's why I left.
Listen to me. We are done
He's
with
still
your
in my
case.
home.
I don't care.
He owes me thousands.
Listen to me. I don't care.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you been cheated? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on
The
Facebook.
lawsuit here has to do with a car.
That he owes
period.
me.
And I find that that car, as he indicates, since you gave him no money to move you in February,
But he
was
also lived in my home for months with no money also, ma'am,
very
before.
good. Very good. You have title to the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's your car. Now,
Now he can pack the
Now-
boxes in it and leave my home. That's great.
now, you have a counterclaim for your tools.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
Very good. You still living in the house?
Yes, I am.
Show me the last rent check you sent to her.
Actually, I don't have the last rent check because I told her.
Then your counterclaim's dismissed. We're done. Over.
Okay.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He can actually pack his boxes and get out of my house when we get home because I have an attorney, and he will be out real soon.
It's unfortunate that I left my receipts inside my folder, inside my backpack.
Because he won't pay. He's still not paying. It's been almost a year.
Because she's full of fraudulent everything. I paid every bill except the last 3 months of that house.
He was just supposed to pay me. I'm not going to give a stranger a car.
She threw away $5,000.
Oh, he had drugs all growing in my house, and he got rid of them, and
Growing marijuana, it's recreational in Michigan.
just disgusting pig.
I won't do nothing else without signed documentation.
I just want him out, and I'm going to get him out as soon as I get home.
You reached into her car to get her phone.
Trying to pull it out of my hands.
An ugly breakup ends with a smash.
My foot is on the gas pedal. I veer away and I hit the wrought iron fence of my neighbor.
And her ex had a hand in it.
But for the fact that you reached into her car,
But for if she hadn't been lying about being pregnant.
if you kept your pants zipped, sir, you wouldn't have been in this kind of trouble.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Ashley Hamblin is suing her former lover, Jonathan Davis, for damages resulting from him causing her to crash her car.
Order. All rise. It's case number 157 on the calendar in the matter of Hamblin versus Davis.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Davis, I'm going to tell you, I believe that everyone is supposed to be responsible for incidents that they create. And it's an interesting case because Miss Hamblin says that the two of you were dating for a while, and on this particular evening, you had some words as you left her apartment. She subsequently got into her car, and she was in the driver's seat and driving. She says, however, that because of your actions, an accident was created in which both neighbors' property was damaged and her property was damaged. That's an unusual circumstance because usually the person who was at the wheel of a car is responsible. But I read this very carefully, and I want you, in your own words, to tell me what happened on June the 7th.
Okay, so on June the 7th, I was to pick her up from her place. She had told me that she was pregnant, and then she told me that she was going to terminate the pregnancy. I was there to pick her up, to take her back to my place, to take care of her through that process. I had been suspicious that she wasn't pregnant because she had never sent me a blood test. When I arrived, she told me that she had already taken the pill, which made me more suspicious.
Taken
the abortion pill.
Is that they call the morning after
pill? Whatever it might be
called.
called.
Okay, so she was going to go back for her.
Right.
Okay.
So she told me that she'd already taken the pill, which aroused my suspicion further. And I said, can you show me any proof that you were ever pregnant? Can you show me a receipt? Can you show me the blood test? Can you show me the pill that it came in from Planned Parenthood? She refused. She said it was in the trash, and then she said the trash was in the dump. So I left her place confused as to what happened.
So you said, I'm leaving.
I'm leaving.
Well, she told you to leave.
I left.
Okay, go ahead.
Then I sat in my car. I was parked around the corner. I sat in my car, and I called a couple friends to walk through what had just happened, because I didn't understand it all the way through. I just didn't understand why she would lie about something like that. So just kind of emoting to my friends about what had gone on. I see her across the street get in her car, which surprised me. I just wasn't expecting to see her. And meanwhile, she's calling me from her car, telling me that she's never took the pill, and...
She called you, and you answered the phone, or you just took a message?
She called me, answered the phone, and she told me that she did not take the pill, and she swore at me, told me she did not take the pill. She had been lying about...
Oh, shh. You'll have a turn in a minute. Go ahead.
That she did not take the pill, and then she had lied about taking the pill. And then I thought, oh, great, then there's a pill. There's some evidence that she walked across over to her car and said, can I see the pill? She said it was none of my business, and she refused to show me the pill. That's when her
now
phone...
She's sitting in the car.
She's sitting in the car.
And you're talking through the window?
I'm talking through the window. The car is stopped.
So the window is
down? The window's rolled down. The car is stopped.
And you've been in the plaintiff's car before?
No, I've never been in her car.
Does your car have automatic windows, or does it have...
Automatic.
Okay, so now the window is down on her car.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Her phone beeps, and I reach in to take her phone to see...
That's where we're going to stop.
Yeah.
Her phone beeped. Where was her phone?
Her phone was in her lap.
So she had a phone in her lap, so you reached your hand into her car to get her phone.
Right, yes.
And?
And I wanted to see if there was some... And then she grabbed my wrists. I immediately let go of the phone. I put my hands up in the universal gesture of, I don't want to get in a fight. And I want to be clear, I didn't open the door. I didn't try to commandeer the steering wheel. And I watched as her car started to roll. This was the car had been stopped. Now the car's starting to roll. And I'm looking at her like, put your foot back on the brake. That's what I'm thinking. Then her car starts to drift towards the center of the street. And I'm kind of doing the gesture of like, she has plenty of time, just moves the car and plows through the yard of her neighbor across the street. I was not near the car.
Mr. Davis, the question that I'm going to listen to what the plaintiff tells me. In negligence, one of the questions that courts ask themselves is, but for the actions of Mr. Davis, would Miss Hamblin have had an accident that night with her car?
Right.
And so far, even based on the rather benign story that you tell me, I'm what we all do.
Right.
Fact finders, whether it's a jury or a judge, fact finders put themselves in a situation of the other person.
Right.
Now, I'm in my car. I started my car.
Right.
And you know, the car was started because otherwise the window wouldn't be down.
Right.
So the car was started and her foot is on the brake. As you said, later, her foot was on the brake. Then you reach into the car so that you're really trespassing on her property by putting your hand into her car to lift out her phone. That causes, and it's already been an emotional evening, probably for both of you. Okay, Miss Hamlin, you tell me your version of the events.
He did come to my house. We had a disagreement.
About what?
About he was pressuring me into getting a certain matter ready, sure, to make a definitive decision on that matter. He left. About 15 minutes transpired. I left my home, went into my car. My car was parked on the side street.
Where are you going?
Where was I going? To the store. I have a cat. I have cats. Get cat
She told me she
food.
was going to see a friend.
Anyways, get into my car. I roll down my window halfway to let the hot air out. I do have my phone in my lap. I am text messaging. I never called him, by the way. I did not know he was still in my neighborhood.
Of course not.
Yeah, 15 minutes
know.
had transpired. I didn't even know he was still there. So I'm firing off some text messages, just fiddling with my phone because you can't do that while you're driving in California. Next thing you know, I look up and I see him bum rushing my car. My car is now in drive. It is in gear, and I'm starting to go out to veer out of my parking spot. And he's reaching into my car, trying to commandeer my phone violently, trying to pull it out of my hands.
Just a minute, was it in your hand or your lap?
It was in my lap first, and then he reached into my lap, and then we were struggling over it.
Okay, so the phone was in your lap when he walked over.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we were struggling over it. Meanwhile, my car is, I'm trying to ascend forward, get out of the situation, try to circumvent, try not to actually run him over, and try to get away from the situation. And everything really happened in gear. I am trying to get away, and, you know, grabs my wrist, phone, I veer away, and I hit the wrought iron fence of my neighbor.
Okay, so your insurance covered that?
They did, the fence, yes.
And what about your car?
I had only liability, and so the damages, I have the estimate.
I'd like to see the
$1,531.46.
I'd like to see the estimates. Perfect. And photos of the car if you have them. Thank you. Did you need a new tire?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Davis, did you stick around after the accident?
Yes.
Were the police called?
Yes.
Is there a report?
Yes.
Can I see the report, please? Okay, the only thing that the police report said, and this is a paraphrase of what happened, it says the victim was driving, witness, they refer to you as a witness, grabbed phone from her hand, causing her to swerve and hit the gate. Okay, so Mr. Davis, as I started to say, actions that day in waiting outside her apartment, whatever you were doing, if you were speaking to friends, but coming over to her car, even though it was not planned, and then trying to grab her property, even for the purposes of looking at it to see who she was talking to, see who was calling her, whatever it is. The whole evening was very disturbing for both of you, caused this accident. Yeah. That's what caused the accident. But for the fact that you went over to her car, reached into her car, which is A, illegal, and B, an aggressive action, reached into her car, that accident, the way it happened, would not have happened, but for your action.
Can I just
you are...
rebut that for a second?
Well, are we going to talk about it? Are we going to talk about the law of it?
The context, but for if she hadn't been lying about being pregnant.
Oh, you know, and if Adam hadn't taken that bite out of the apple, there's a certain cutoff point, you know. If you kept your pants zipped, sir, then you wouldn't have been in this kind of trouble. We're not going back that far.
Right.
We don't have to go back that far.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
What I'm telling you is he's not going to pay your moving costs.
Why not,
He's
Joanna?
not. Why not?
Yes.
Because you're a grown-up. Move.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Ashley Hamblin says former lover Jonathan Davis caused her to crash her car when he tried to grab her phone.
Okay, we go back to the point where, but for your actions in going over to her car and aggressively trying to get her phone, this accident wouldn't have happened. And it's frustrating.
It's frustrating.
Much of what she wants, she's not going to, unfortunately, be able to get, but she is going to get the repairs for her car. She is going to get the repairs for her car, which were $1,530. That's totally reasonable because you actually caused that accident, even though you weren't involved by driving. What? You're not going to get the increase in your insurance rates and the ding to your license. And it's not happening.
Okay.
$1,530. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Parties are excused and may step out.
There was a lot more context to the accident and why it went down.
A crime was committed. Your emotions don't matter.
There was a lot more emotional ringer that she was putting me through.
You know, I'm not going to let somebody tell me what to do with my body. I'm sorry.
Keep my hands to myself on everything, including the phone on Tinder.
Don't ever go on Tinder. No one go on Tinder. Ever.
And now, the next case.
Yeah, all parties.
25-year-old Amber Pope is suing her former property manager, Vernon Watkins, for the return of rent and moving costs.
Ms. Pope, let me see if I understand this. You were renting a room in a house where there were 8 bedrooms, 4 up and 4 down?
That sounds about correct, Your Honor.
And you were renting initially from someone else other
Yes.
than the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were living in that room starting when?
February 2nd of 2018.
And in your room, how many people were there?
So each room could fit up to 4 people. It's 2 bunk beds in each room.
Did you know who owned the house?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
But there was a leaseholder that evidently left, and Mr. Watkins became the leaseholder. You took over that lease.
Correct.
Yes.
In what year, sir?
That was April 8th of this year, 2019.
Just tell me, for my own curiosity, what kind of rent do you pay to be in a room with 3 other people in an 8-bedroom house?
Well, I paid $450 a month because before I came to that house, I was in transitional living.
And was there ever a time when there were 4 people in your room?
Yes, ma'am, unfortunately, yes.
Okay. So, how much, Mr. Watkins, did you pay for this house? Just
And we pay $5,800 per month.
who's we?
My partner and I, we're a sole proprietorship.
Okay. So at any given time, let's say I'm taking her number of 4 rooms up, 4 rooms down. Each room can hold up to 4 people. You could actually make, if those rooms were full, $16,000 a month.
It's potentially yes.
Yes. Well, that's pretty good deal. So that's $10,000. Clear money for you.
Right, but we don't do that. We don't have all rooms full.
Okay. But you could potentially.
Potentially.
Potentially. I just wanted to know. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win this, Miss Pope, because you're probably not.
Okay.
Because once he took over the lease, you say you felt uncomfortable
Yes,
there.
ma'am.
He was letting different kinds of people in to live there, and you felt uncomfortable.
Yes, ma'am.
So you moved.
Yes, May 13th.
And you want him to pay for your moving expenses.
My prorated
and-
rent, moving
Yeah,
costs,
just a sec.
deposit.
Yeah, so he's not going to pay for your moving costs. You didn't like the new landlord. You had no obligation to stay there. You can move. That's what grown-ups do.
Yes,
They
that's true, Your Honor.
move.
However, I was sexually harassed in the situation.
Listen to me. I read your papers.
Okay.
You felt uncomfortable there. You said you didn't like him. He walked around in his underwear. Just move. So that's what you did. Now, did you pay May's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Is not an answer. Yes is an
ma'am, I
answer.
did.
Yes. Okay. And you lived there through May 13th.
Yes, ma'am.
You paid on the 1st of the month. When
Yes.
did you tell Mr. Watkins that you were moving?
I told him the week before I was moving.
Tell me about the conversation.
Well, basically, ma'am.
Not basically.
Sorry.
I just want you to tell me a week before you were moving, you said to him and he said to you.
So on May 6th, I told him I was going to be leaving because I felt sexually harassed by him.
Is that what you said? No, I don't even
she-
believe that.
Well, ma'am,
Miss
I have
Pope,
evidence
Miss
here
Pope.
that he asked me to be a stripper.
And what did you say?
I said, no, of course not. He said, no, I insist, You have big breasts, thick thighs, big hips. Why not be a stripper? You can make some money.
And?
Here you go, I have it right here.
I'm going to look at
Now, this evidence is a conversation between me and my housemate that we have about him asking us to be strippers. He said that he's...
Just a second. Is that conversation that you had with him or with somebody else who's not here?
Somebody else who's not here,
I
unfortunately.
don't need that.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I take sexual harassment complaints very, very seriously. And when somebody uses them for a leg up in this kind of nonsense, I don't buy it. I take it very, very seriously. If you didn't like the new landlord, you...
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Amber Pope says her former property manager, Vernon Watkins, owes for the return of rent and moving costs.
What I'm telling you is he's not going to pay your moving costs.
Why not,
He's
Your
not.
Honor?
Why not?
Yes.
Because you're a grown-up person. If you don't like the apartment that you're living in, you move.
Well, ma'am, in a higher gentrification...
Just a sec.
Okay.
Don't argue with me.
Okay.
You know, I take sexual harassment complaints very, very seriously. And when somebody uses them for a leg up in this kind of nonsense, I don't buy it. I take it very, very seriously. If you didn't like the new landlord, you felt uncomfortable. He was bringing in people that you didn't like, that you didn't feel were as wholesome as the prior landlord, then you have the right to vote with your feet. You pick yourself up and you move. And if it's expensive, that's not his problem.
Well, ma'am, before he came in, I was very comfortable.
I don't care if you were very comfortable before. Now you weren't, so you move.
Yes, ma'am, but it's not that simple just to move in a height of gentrification in L.A.
That's not his
I'm a victim of sexual abuse. He kept approaching me with inappropriate conversations. It triggered me psychologically, ma'am. That's the reason why I'm here.
Well,
I'm an educator, ma'am.
What I'm telling you is he's not paying you. Paid for May.
Yes.
You lived there in May.
Yes. I didn't stay to the end of May, ma'am.
I don't care.
Okay.
When you live in a place for part of a month, unless you have some sort of an agreement that you are living there on a daily basis, so you live in an apartment and you move out in the middle of the month, you pay for the month.
Okay.
You gave him a week's notice that you were moving out.
Well, not necessarily a week notice and a verbal, but I made it very clear, like, I don't want to live here anymore. So I decided to leave May 13th.
Then he said goodbye.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by...
Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
You gave him a week's notice that you were moving out.
Well, not necessarily a week notice and a verbal, but I made it very clear, like, I don't want to live here anymore. So I decided to leave May 13th.
Then he said goodbye, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's
But
right.
also, too, the fact that he purposely moved in a man dressed as a woman into my room to purposely make me uncomfortable.
You walk with your feet. You don't like the room anymore. You don't like the landlord. You don't like the roommate. Find another roommate.
But, ma'am, but what about him constantly coming into my room while I'm dressing fresh out the shower? My witness here even witnessed that.
Just a second.
Yes.
We're done.
Okay.
Never happened.
That did happen. Your Honor, my witness time out the shower, unannounced, no intention to show the room to new people, no intention to make any new changes to the room, no maintenance issues. I'm supposed to be comfortable with that?
May I respond?
You're trying to
Listen to me.
Right?
Yes, I did.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Goodbye.
Okay.
All right, excuse, you may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy...
Her payment was going to be the furniture from your storage unit.
I never agreed that they could have anything. I worked very hard. Can I interrupt?
No.
Judge Judy.
Yes, I'm a grown adult, but I shouldn't have to be forced to move and pay high expense moving costs.
I have a number of other female tenants that have never had a problem, so this is all made up.
Even though the situation didn't go in my favor, the marathon continues, so I'm going to keep fighting.
There's no way that I would disrespect any person in that way.
My husband and I had a brand new 8-week-old puppy at the home.
You left her with the puppy.
A night of dog sitting should have been no big deal.
My husband and I started getting panicked text messages from Amanda.
Then trust turned to tragedy.
When I looked down, there was just blood everywhere. And I tried to do, like, chest compressions. I didn't really know what to do.
You want her to pay you a whole...
Is Judge Judy.
Elizabeth Meadows is suing her daughter, 20-year-old Amanda Clegg, for unpaid loans, hotel costs, and punitive damages for causing the death of her dog.
Order. All rise. It's case number 222 on the calendar in the matter of Meadows versus Clegg.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Meadows, this young lady is your daughter.
That's correct.
How old are you?
20.
And I assume from reading your papers that for most of her life, she did not live with you. Is that right?
That's correct.
Was she in foster care or with a relative?
She was adopted.
At what age?
9 days.
When did you reconnect?
After she turned 18, as it was a closed adoption, so that would have been December of 2017.
And did she reach out to find you?
Her adoptive mother did originally, so.
Originally in what year?
In 2017.
Okay.
So, yes, but her adoptive mother reached out first.
Did you ask your adoptive mother to reach out?
Yes.
Yes. She did it at your request.
Yeah.
That's what I assume. Okay. And then there came a time when you wanted to move, to relocate after you turned 18 to live closer to your mother.
Decided that would be a good option. It wasn't my original intention to move to Utah.
Well, nobody at 18 has an original intention.
That's true.
Original intention of somebody who's 18 is wanting to be 19 and have a good time. Did your mother ask you to move?
Mm-hmm.
Did you move in with her?
Initially, yes.
Now, one of the things that you're suing for is moving costs. Is that from moving from where she was to come to live with you?
That's part of it, yes.
That's part of it. Yeah. What, are you ridiculous?
I'm sorry?
What, are you crazy? You invite your daughter to live with you, and you want her to pay the moving costs of her to do that? Do you
very
work?
Little of it.
Do you work?
I do.
Was she working?
Eventually, I got her a job.
Not eventually. When she moved in with you,
no,
she wasn't. So she had no money saved up or anything. You said, come move with me, and you sent her money to move. That's what mothers do. Cross off money owed for moving costs. Let's get to the next thing.
Okay.
Unpaid loans. She moved in with you on what date?
I think it was April 21st, 2018.
And what were the loans for?
Everything. I mean, I paid her living expenses as far as I didn't charge her to live with me, and
oh, we're going to give you a big old gold star for that.
I purchased a car for a car.
Okay.
Car insurance.
Okay, so when she was living with you, you bought her a used car.
Yes.
And she moved in with you on April 21st. In what month and year did you buy her this $1,000 car?
In May.
So the next month?
Yes.
Did she get a job?
She did.
Within that time?
Yeah, it was around that time, yes.
So she came to you. She was 18. She got a job, which is just a lot more than most kids do. What kind of work were you doing?
I worked at the hotel with her. I was a front desk agent.
Great. So you worked at the same place your mother did. Mm-hmm. Terrific. Okay. Now, listen to me. I don't care about your living expenses, what you paid for food, gas, electric, anything else. If you bought her a jacket, if you bought her pants, if you bought her underwear, I don't care. That's what parents do. You wanted to be her mother.
I wanted to get her out of an abusive situation. I never intended to have her live with me. It was a sacrifice I made because her adoptive family was abusive, but it wasn't my original intent to have her move in with me now.
So why didn't you just send her money and say you can't come and live with me because of my life circumstance, but I'm going to send you some money to set yourself up someplace else?
She wasn't in a good situation. I didn't feel like she had good people surrounding her.
Well, that's a very good thing for you to do. Unpaid loans, I've crossed out. Hotel costs.
May I ask why you're crossing out the unpaid loans? There were several loans, and, Your Honor, I have bank statements supporting personal loans that I gave her to cover.
Well, I'm asking you I asked you what for. You said for her living expenses, for clothes, for things that she needed every day to live.
They were items that I agreed to lend her money that she agreed
Give me an example.
That she agreed to pay back.
Give me an example of what you bought her.
I gave her money to pay for, again, those same things that you had mentioned, but as a 18, 19-year-old, she agreed to be responsible for her own expenses.
Very nice.
I gave her some...
I asked you next, hotel costs.
Would you like me to jump to the end of the story?
I would like you to jump to hotel costs. I'm going through this in order. It's written here.
Okay.
What hotel?
In June of 2019, this is after she had moved out of the home, my husband and I had a brand new 8-week-old puppy at the home, and we had asked her to dog sit. So she had been moved out for about 6 months at that point in time. And so she came over to the home. She agreed to watch the dog as there were larger dogs in the home, and we wanted to protect the puppy, make sure nothing happened. So later that evening, so my husband and I went out of town for the evening. We got a hotel for...
Hotel cost that you're talking about?
That must be it.
So the hotel cost was that you and your husband bought a dog. Shortly after buying the dog, you left her with the puppy. And because the dog got sick, and eventually died, you came home, and what you lost was your hotel room that you had prepaid. Is that the hotel cost that we're talking about?
That is the hotel cost that we're talking about.
That's crossed out. Now, the last thing is you want actual and punitive damages for my dog's death.
Well,
that's the last thing.
I
So
feel
now-
like we skipped over quite a bit, Your Honor. I mean,
No, I skipped over nothing. If you don't get it, as a person who is a parent, you may not have been a parent for 18 years, but at a time when a child that you delivered gave up for adoption, which was probably then in her best interest, turned out not so much in her best interest because, according to you, she was living in an abusive situation. So a child that you gave up now finds herself as a teenager living in an abusive household. So you, as a biological parent, agree to help her to come to live with you, even though it's unfortunate because you and your husband, you have children with this husband?
No.
So the two of you, lovebirds, nearing with what is otherwise an idyllic life. So she comes in April, gets a job in May. Gets a job right away, is not living off you, is not laying around on the couch, is not flirting with your husband, is not bringing home pot smokers, is not doing anything terrible. And you are confident enough in her that after she moves out, and she hasn't been with you very long, but you say, this is really not working out. You know, it's interfering with my husband and I running around in our pajamas. What I'm telling you is that you were confident enough. I mean, if you were going away on this trip, which I assume was pre-planned.
Yes.
Yes, then you don't get a puppy 10 days before. You get a puppy 2 days after you come home. That would have been using your canoodle.
Okay.
Right.
I wasn't super concerned about the dog surviving a one-night stay with an adult.
Well, first of all, a 20-year-old is not an adult.
I believe a 20-year-old is an adult.
Well, how old are you?
I'm 36.
Well, I actually believe that a 36-year-old should be smart enough to know that if they have a pre-planned event that's going to take them away out of town so that they need a hotel room, they don't get a dog 9 days before. They get a dog 10 days later so that they can take care of a new puppy. That's what I think a 36-year-old does. I give a 36-year-old more credit than I do a 20-year-old.
Had not had any issues, so.
Just 1 second, so that you had another dog. And when you had the other dog, she was responsible with the other dog, so you didn't have any problem with the other dog. Right. This time, there was a problem with this puppy. And you want her to pay you a whole bunch of money, actual and punitive damages, for the death of your puppy. Now, since you do not have a vet here, I assume that you want to tell me why you believe she is responsible for the death of your dog and that I should treat her punitively about it. Come on.
So the night that she came to watch the dog, or was supposed to be watching the dog, we were gone for a few hours, and my husband and I started getting some very panicked text messages from Amanda while we were at our event. And so we saw the text messages come through. We knew something was wrong. So my husband called her, and as she told the story, the dogs had been playing together very roughly. And keep in mind, this was a...
What kind of dog is the older dog?
A golden retriever. So...
A golden?
A golden, yes.
So a 60-pound dog?
A 60-pound dog, yes.
I know my dogs. So
You
just a
do.
second. So the 60-pound dog, and what kind of a dog did you bring into the house?
It was a pug.
It was a pug.
puppy.
So a small, playful dog. And how old a pug did you bring into the house?
She was 8 weeks old.
And how old is... The golden had been the only dog in the house?
Had been the only dog in the house, but for the 10 days that they lived together, 0 issues. The golden was very, very gentle with her. We watched them closely, but that was like her baby.
Was she there at the time during those 10 days?
She
Or
had
just you?
visited once.
So the answer is no. She wasn't living with you for the 10 days that you and your husband were
wasn't
living
living
there.
there, no.
But you and your husband were living there. So the golden was comfortable enough. I know. I have brought in younger dogs with my older dogs. One of them went into a state of depression and proceeded to put on 5 pounds. She's only supposed to weigh 5 pounds, but walked around miserable because she was unhappy being the only dog for a long time. She went into a depression. Now I have a little dog that's the new puppy, and the new puppy, when there's another little puppy that comes and plays that belongs to one of my grandchildren, she goes into a funk. Well, if you had your golden and it was getting along fine, maybe it was because you and your husband were there. And then when you abandoned the dog with the new puppy...
I would not describe it as abandonment.
Well,
she was very familiar with
just
Amanda.
Just a second. I'm not describing what you may think is abandonment. I'm talking about what a dog thinks is abandonment because you leave. And you leave her alone with this new 8-week-old thing that's running around, food, and all the things that little puppies do because they're puppies. They're not older dogs that are a little more senior. I want you to tell me, so as soon as there was trouble, your daughter called, text, whatever, and your husband called her. And she said the dogs were playing roughly. Is that what you told me?
Yes.
And?
The dogs were playing roughly, and as Amanda admitted to my husband over the phone...
Not admitted. She said to him on the phone...
that she had done nothing.
Just a second. First of all, your husband's not here. And did you say to your mother's husband that you did nothing?
No. I said there was nothing I could do because... Do you want me to explain how it happened?
Yes, because she wasn't there.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So I panicked and I had Hunter go and get a towel and he called 911 and I tried to do like chest compressions. I didn't really know what to do. But it died like in under a minute.
I got it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Elizabeth Meadows says her daughter, Amanda Clegg, owes for loans, hotel costs, and punitive damages for causing the
mother's husband that you did nothing.
No. But do you want me to explain how it happened?
Yes, because she wasn't there.
So we got there, we let the dogs out, and they played for about an hour. And then we...
What do you mean you let them out? Into a yard?
They were in their kennels because no one was home. And then after about an hour, we sat down and started watching a movie, and they were just at our feet laying. They weren't playing anymore, but I felt like a tug on the blanket, and I thought maybe the puppy wanted to get up on the couch. And then when I looked down, there was just blood everywhere, and it was seizing, and that's why it was tugging on the blanket. And so I panicked, and I had Hunter go and get a towel, and...
That's your boyfriend.
And he called 911, and I tried to do, like, chest compressions. I didn't really know what to do. But it died, like, in under a minute. It was really sad. But after I, like, calmed down enough, I cleaned up the mess. And I... Thank you. I bathed the dog for them so they wouldn't have to see it that
I can't
way.
hear. Take a minute.
And then after I calmed down enough and we had cleaned everything up, I tried to call them phones. I tried to track down the hotel they were at and call their room. And then Mason eventually called me back and I just explained what was happening and how it all happened. And I must have said afterward that there was nothing I could do because there really wasn't.
I got it. I got it. By the time you saw this, was the puppy still alive? Did the puppy ever make it to a veterinary facility?
No, they had animal control on their way to try to help, but it was just, it all happened too fast.
Were you there?
I was.
Want to stand up? Tell me your last name.
Casillas.
You remember that evening?
I do.
Want to tell me your version of what happened?
She asked me to come puppy sit for her mother, and we got to the house. We went into her mother's room, let the dogs out, fed them, let them go outside and go to the bathroom.
Were they in a kennel?
Yeah, they were in separate kennels, yep. And then they were playing underneath our feet while we were watching a movie, and we looked down and the smaller puppy was seizing. I ran to the bathroom, I grabbed a towel, we put pressure on the wound. It just, the only reason that...
Where was the wound?
In its head. That's why it seized, that's why it died so fast. It went straight into its brain. And Amanda was crying and giving it chest compressions while I was on the phone with 911 trying to figure out what the best thing we should do was.
I'm hearing right now is very different than what she told my husband on the phone.
I don't know what she told your husband on the phone because he's not here.
He had to work.
I don't care whether he had to work or he had to go to Mars. I want you to think about your position a little bit.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Elizabeth Meadows says the daughter she gave up for adoption, Amanda Clegg, is responsible for the death of her dog.
This blanket that was on the floor, was it a blanket that had been on the sofa?
Mm-hmm.
In the time that you were living with your mother, did you ever see the golden on that blanket?
Yeah, all the time.
Where was the blanket kept?
On the couch. It was like a throw blanket.
Does the golden ever sleep on the couch?
Yes.
Did the golden ever sleep on the couch?
Occasionally. She usually slept in our room.
Did the golden ever sleep on the couch?
In a year and a half, she probably slept on the couch at some point, yes. But she was not territorial. I believe that you're trying to
I don't know what you want her to pay for.
The story that I'm hearing right now is very different than what she told my husband on the phone.
I don't know what she told your husband on the phone because he's not here.
He had to work.
I don't care whether he had to work or he had to go to Mars. He's not here.
Well, then, Judge, I would like her to pay the money that she admits that she is between us.
If she admits that she owes you money, very nice. Let her pay you whatever she admits she owes you. I am not ordering her to pay you a penny.
Well, she believes that...
Listen to me. I'm not ordering her to pay you a penny. I want you to think about your position a little bit. If she admits that she owes you money and sounds to me like a pretty reasonable and responsible person based upon what you told me, you placed her up for adoption because you irresponsibly had a child that you couldn't take care of. You placed that child in a place where you told me she was being abused. Just listen, because I didn't get any of this information from her. I got it from you. And then she came to you, and it really wasn't a good fit, not because of anything she did, because you and your husband were used to living alone.
She did not come to me, Your Honor.
Now, you had a dog, and you had a dog for a year and a half. Before you went on a pre-planned vacation for a day, you got a 2-month-old puppy that you were introducing into a house where you already had a 60-pound dog. Already, and you want her to be responsible for the following things.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by...
Are you in a family? Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
You want her to be responsible for the following things. Her moving from where she was in this abusive home where she was living because you didn't take care of her. You want her to pay for your hotel room because you left the hotel and came home to take care of the situation with your dog. So you want her to pay for that hotel room. You want her to pay for all the other sort of living expenses that she did before she got a job within 4 weeks of moving to you. And I'm telling you, Miss Meadows, one word. Look at me. Goodbye.
Sorry to feel that way, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It was just showed a lack of respect towards me, that her not watching the dog and not watching it close enough.
I mean, I'm sad that she really believes that.
It died in her hands, and she takes no responsibility, nor have I ever received.
Because that must be really hard for her. It was really sad.
Any kind of apology from her for the death of the dog.
I feel like she was kind of just looking for a reason to be done with me, so.
I don't care to reconcile with her at any point, and she probably feels the same way.
I wish her the best.